together we'll chant verses 21 to 30 of chapter 7. लभते च ततः कामान् मयैव विहितान् हितान् अन्तवत्तु फलं तेषां तद्भवत्यल्पमेधसाम् मद्भक्ता यान्ति मामपि अव्यक्तं व्यक्तिमापन्नं मन्यन्ते मामबुद्धयः परं भावमजानन्तः त्वमाव्ययमनुत्तमम् नाहं प्रकाशः सर्वस्य योगमाया समावृतः मूढोऽयं नाभिजानाति लोको मामजमव्ययम् वेदाहं समतीतानि वर्तमानानि चार्जुन भविष्याणि च भूतानि मां तु वेद न कश्चन इच्छाद्वेषसमुत्थेन द्वन्द्वमोहेन भारत सर्वभूतानि सम्मोहं सर्वे यान्ति परन्तप येषां त्वन्तगतं पापं जनानां पुण्यकर्मणां ते द्वन्द्वमोहनिर्मुक्ताः भजन्ते मां दृढव्रताः जरामरणमोक्षाय मामाश्रित्य यतन्ति ये ते ब्रह्म तद्विदुः अध्यात्मं कर्म चाखिलं साधिभूताधिदैवं मां साधियज्ञं च ये विदुः प्रयाणकालेऽपि च मां ते विदुर्युक्तचेतसः Any questions? Does anybody have any questions on what we have covered so far? Anyone who has a question, please switch your video on. Rajesh, you have a question?
My question is, last class there was this subject of causation is a commonality between philosophy and science. Can you explain?
What is the commonality?
Causation.
Causation.
If you can please elaborate on that.
Okay. So the question is that causation is common between philosophy and science. So elaborate on that. Okay, so both philosophy and science work to identify cause and effect relationships. In fact, well in the hoary past, in the Western world, there was no division science included philosophy. Now, if you go back to Aristotle or somebody like that, they did philosophy, they did science as well. There was no distinction. Eventually, then a distinction started taking place, and then there was more and more delving deeper, at least in the Western world, in terms of the cause and effect in the world. And this came out of philosophy, as it were, and became more and more advanced. So we have extremely advanced science today because they found out more and more cause and effect relationships, and their aim, of course, is to understand all of causation with reference to the natural world. Um, Whether that will ever happen or not, we don't know, but definitely science has made huge strides in locating of these cause and effect relationships. We found out so many things. In fact, right now humanity is involved in finding a causal relationship. They're trying to find out, if you have the coronavirus, then by what cause can this be treated, or by what way can we remove it. So we are constantly, science is constantly on the job, trying to find more and more causal relationships. And the consequence of that is that they have made this beautiful world for us. We have all sorts of things, even though we are all stuck at home, and our classes are going on, right? We are all stuck at home, people are continuing their work, they're continuing their studies, they're doing everything. All this is thanks to science. So science does this wonderful job of identifying cause and effect relationships with reference to the natural world. Philosophy does exactly the same thing, but with reference to the human being. So what philosophy delves in is, why does the human being feel what they feel? Why do they think what they think? The field of philosophy that studies why you think, how you think, is epistemology. Then they find out, philosophy wants to find out what is the reality behind things. Okay, so they do the same thing in terms of being logical, in terms of being rational, in terms of finding cause and effect relationships. Science and philosophy do exactly the same thing. They find out what is a proper correlation of things. Okay? Science does it, the similarity is the use of logic, the use of reason, the use of causation. The dissimilarity is in which arena, which area they do it. Science does it in the natural world, and philosophy does it in the human world. They try to find out what is happening. Like, for instance, philosophy would have a question such as, science has done so much to improve our world, our living conditions. I mean, in every way, our world is much better than what it used to be, right? And yet, amazingly, humans are no happier. Like, we are all worried now that we will die of this coronavirus, and so many people will die. These deaths are nothing compared to what used to happen. The amount of plagues, the amount of trouble, the amount of disease, our mortality rate, even with all this stuff, is still much higher than it was ever in human history. More people are fed today than they've ever been fed in human history. More amenities, more conveniences are available than they've ever been in human history. If you go back into like maybe 1700s, the king and the common man didn't have as much difference in their lifestyle as today's people have. Because with all his money, what would that poor king buy? He'll buy some more jewelry and he'll buy a little better food. Like, what is he going to get? But today it can be huge, the difference, without trying to be a king or anything. So philosophy asks this question: how is it? How is it that in spite of everything getting so much better, the human being is not better off? How come he's not happier? So trying to understand those causal relationships. So is that clear, Rajesh? I mean, is that sufficient elaboration?
Okay.
Any other questions?
Nothing, ma'am.
Hello, Majay.
Sorry, I can't see it, but I'll just go over the question.
Okay.
Uh,
Is there a possibility that when cause and effect comes into play, in spite of investigation, one may not be able to find the cause, but we may continue to blame. Like for example, in this case about COVID, for example, you know, what if there was a situation that science couldn't find a cure or couldn't find a vaccine? So, is there a possibility that while the duality of cause and effect exists, there will be multiple situations, whether in your personal life, professional life, or in the world as in general, you may never be able to find the cause behind the effect.
Yes, of course. Multiple times that will happen, will keep on happening, and people will keep on working, and it's like a battle of wits between nature and us. Nature will do something, we try to figure it out. Then again, nature will do something, again we try to figure it out. We are not getting our own role in this. Like, what have we done that we have this COVID situation? We don't even figure it out. So it will take some time before humanity realizes what are we doing that we are bringing about nature's this kind of challenges to us. So yes, we don't know. Very often we don't know. It takes a use.
From a philosophical,
Sorry.
from a philosophical perspective.
Yeah, we don't. Why has it come about?
No, not COVID. COVID was like a generalized example which kind of explains everything in a ballpark. But if you take it from a slightly more complex perspective, like I'm trying to realize myself, but I'm unable to realize myself. So really go seeking answers for those, because those are extremely complex.
That is the struggle all along that a human being will do in everything, whether you want realization, whether you want a good relationship, whether you want a higher turnover, whether you want health, whether you want good friends. We are always struggling to figure out what is it that is that cause and effect relationship. Most people stop that struggle, and so they get depressed and they say, oh, it's never going to happen. And some brave souls fight on and they say, no, one day I'm going to figure this out, or I'm going to die in the attempt. So, it all depends. Some people just become cynical. They say, ye hota nahi hai. And some people who are really achievers will keep on trying to figure, okay, this didn't work, so now I know this doesn't work, so let me try something else. That is that famous example of Edison, right? He made 999 attempts to make the light bulb, and then they all failed. So everybody laughed at him, and they said, what is the use of this? He said, well, I know 999 ways by which it cannot be done. So now let me try one more way. So any achiever doesn't give up. He says, okay, this doesn't work, let me find another way. Which is another hunt for causation. Aditi?
Hari Om Janki, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Janki, one of the classes you said that if you are doing the Gita, you were talking about one-pointedness. You should not be then doing the Upanishad, but Gita means Gita. So, just wanted to know if there is certain correlation between the Gita and Upanishad, coming out of the Upanishad. Why is you are not supposed to do everything together? Why just the Gita? I've been thinking about this and not getting my answer, because I definitely do not want to attend the Upanishad class. But if there is a reason for it, then I would like to make that decision accordingly.
Just to not confuse yourself, if you're doing science, you wouldn't do BA and MA together, right? If you're doing BA, you do BA. If you're doing MA, you do MA. You don't, if you're doing academics, you wouldn't do your MA and BA together, right? So you have to know what you're trying to achieve and what are the steps in achieving that, and you have to do steps of, let's say, 5th standard at one time, then you do the steps of 6th standard at one time, then you do the steps of 7th standard. You don't mix up levels like that. So, and then you don't, if you are an Arya Vidya Mandir, you don't say, okay, let me go and attend some classes in Jamna Bai also. Not because we are making a comparison and we are saying that, one school is better than the other, but you follow your line, whatever line you have placed for yourself, instead of being attracted by every odd thing that comes, no matter how nice it is. So it's not about not doing the Gita and the Upanishads together, but having a clear idea of where you're trying to go, what are the steps to go there, and you're going through those steps in a methodical and systematic manner, and not getting interrupted by every temptation that comes our way.
And what if it is interlinked? Because I find a lot of connection, and when I'm doing my contemplation, a lot of it also comes from both the classes. So, which kind of interlinks, and the concepts are like you talk about action. You get to hear a perspective on the Gita, on the Upanishad. So it kind of just adds to your thought process, or your way to try to move ahead, especially if you're trying to move in your direction of self-improvement, I would say. Is it still
No. If that is your path, then that is your path. Now you have chosen, I want to do these two. Now you will see Ashtavakra Gita somewhere. Now don't run to that then.
Got it. Okay.
Whatever according to you you need to do, stick with that.
I got it. Okay, fine. Thank you.
Anyone else has any questions? Okay, so let us come back to verse 24. We are on chapter 7, verse 24. Avyaktam vyaktimapannam. So the first thing the Lord has told us about himself, important for us because the Lord is saying it himself. He's saying avyaktam vyaktimapannam. You are believing the unmanifest to be manifest. So what is manifest? Manifest is something that you can see with your eyes, hear with your ears, smell with your nose, touch with your skin, or taste with your tongue. Something that is displayed, is shown, is expressed. And when it's expressed, it can be perceived with your senses, or felt with the mind, or conceived by the intellect. So if someone tells you, I saw God, मुझे भगवान के दर्शन हुए, then you must, in your mind, don't tell him anything, in your mind say avyaktam vyaktimapannam. The unmanifest has been believed to be manifest. God is not something that can be perceived by your senses, is not something that can be felt by the mind, is not something that can be conceived by the intellect. We all have our concepts of God. We think God is X or Y or Z. Whatever we think about it, it is wrong. Says God. I am not saying, so don't catch my throat. He himself is saying, avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mam abuddhayaha. Abuddhayaha means jiski buddhi nahi hai. Those people believe that unmanifest is manifest. If you can contact God in any way, through either the perception or emotion or conception, know that those were all wrong according to the Lord himself. Param bhavam ajanantaha. Not knowing his supreme nature. Ajanantaha, those who do not know. Janati is you know. Ajanantaha, don't know. Whenever you add means you don't know. So those who don't know his param bhavam. Param bhavam means supreme nature. Anything that is supreme, anything that is infinite cannot be known by this human personality. It can't be done. Not because we say so, but it's a mathematical law. It can't understand the infinite. It can't be done. So you can't perceive it, you can't feel it, and you can't think it. Why not? Because it is the param. It is the supreme. It is beyond perception, emotion and thought. It is avyayam anuttamam. Uttamam is the best. Anuttamam is that which cannot be surpassed. Nothing can be better than that. Why can't anything be better than that? Because what can be better than the infinite? It is the infinite being. What are we trying to grasp that infinite being with our foolish perceptions, our foolish emotions, and our foolish thoughts? It cannot be done. The world's stupidest fight is the fight over God, because two people who have no conception of what that God is are fighting over it. Do you believe in God? Do you not believe in God? These are silly questions. These are childish questions more than silly questions. God is something unknown to all of us, and it is our job in life to find out what is that ultimate reality, what is that ultimate truth. It is not our job to say I believe it, I don't believe it. This is childishness. We have to find out, we have to get there, we have to see for ourselves, we have to know the truth eventually ourselves, not because someone says so. So what is he saying? He's saying that I am unmanifest. He's clear. He's not making any, there's no debate over here. You read it yourself. Even if you don't know Sanskrit, you can read it. Vyaktam, manifest. Avyaktam, unmanifest. What's so difficult? Manyante abuddhayah. Mam manyante. They think of me. Who thinks of me like that? Abuddhayah. So even if you know like basic, forget Sanskrit, basic Indian languages, you can read this for yourself. Param bhavama, param bhavam, that supreme nature, ajanantaha, not knowing. What is my nature? Avyayam anuttamam. Avyayam means that which cannot be changed, that is immutable. So, any conception we have of God, which includes a change, cannot be. So, suppose you say, I saw God, I had darshan of the Lord. Okay, so ask yourself, simple question, did that change? Meaning, did the darshan come and the darshan go? In which case, it's against the definition that the Lord has given. Unmutable, it cannot change. I heard the bansuri, I smelt the chandan lip that Krishna puts. Ask yourself, was it mutable or immutable? Was it changing or unchanging? Any experience that comes and goes is not the state of that final truth, that final reality. The nature of that reality as given by him is immutable, unchanging. Therefore, anything that happens in the world is in fact described as being ashashvatam. Ashashvatam means not eternal. So it's the direct opposite of the Lord, because the Lord is immutable. Immutable means unchanging. There was never a time that he was not, and there's never going to be a time that he will not be, and there is no difference in this period between. So, people who are non-thinking people, instead of finding out what that final truth is, they come to conclusions about it, and then, like the blind man and the elephant, keep fighting with one another. So, what he's trying to tell us is that is a dimension beyond our comprehension. Now, how else is he supposed to say this? He's saying it's a dimension that is beyond our comprehension. We cannot contact it, we cannot deal with it in any way. So please don't even go there. The Keno Upanishad says, Tadeva vidhitvam. Know that. You should know that. Yedam yadidam upasate. Know that to be Brahman with which you will worship. In other words, you worship, you sing a song to the Lord. That song which you sing is not God. That which enables you to sing the song is God. You see the murti. What you see is not God. What enables you to see that murti is God. You hear the sound of the basuri. The sound of the basuri is not the Lord. that which enables you to hear it. That is the Lord. You say something about the Lord. Whatever you say is not true. But what enables you to say it, that is the Lord. What a definition he's given. He said, Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. Idam upasate means here what you are worshipping, that is not the Lord. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. Nothing that you are worshipping over here is the Lord. Because whatever you are worshipping is here only. The Lord is beyond this. He is Param. He is Anuttamam. He is beyond our capacity to understand. It is that which is making this all happen. None of this, what you are seeing, is Him. He is that which is the substratum of all this. It's a difficult thing. Even if you understand what is being said, the fact is we don't understand what it is. So see the definition of, see this explanation. His explanation itself is such that there is no way you can kind of understand what he's talking about. Because if you understand that you cannot understand, then you understood what he's talking about. But if you say, no, I understand this verse, then we miss the point. Because he's already told us that anything you can conceive is not the Lord. So don't even make an attempt, because through our petty intellects we cannot understand the transcendental truth. One of the scriptures portrays it as, it says it's like the intellect trying to understand God is like a butterfly trying to go through a granite wall. Can't be done. That's the point he's trying to make. Okay, so let's go to verse 25. Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavrutaha mudhoyam nabhijanati loko mamajam avyayam. Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavrutaha mudhoyam nabhijanati loko mamajam avyayam. Naham prakashah sarvasya. Aham na prakashah sarvasya. So I am not prakashah, I am not manifest to all. I'm not. In other words, he already said I am not manifest. Now he's just adding all. That means to nobody am I prakasha, I am manifest. Why not? Yogamaya samavrutaha. Because we are all covered with yogamaya. And this is all something that requires careful thought. Please be warned that chapter 7 to 12 talk a lot about Brahman. So if 1 to 6 was all about us, 7 to 12 is all about him. So there's a lot of explanation of what that transcendental reality, that final God is, and it is a struggle for us to follow him sometimes. But pay attention. If you don't understand, that's fine. If you misunderstand, that's a problem. So what is he saying here? Yoga Maya Samavritaha. Yoga Maya. Now this word Maya is a very interesting word in Vedanta. Excuse me, it is often used and it's often misunderstood. Maya literally comes from two words, Ma and Ya. Ma means not that, not, and Ya means that. So Maya means not that. Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavrataha. Yoga means to join. We have joined ourselves with something which is not that. What is that supposed to mean? Please pay attention to what he is saying. He says that there is a truth here, there is a reality here. But we go and associate ourselves, we go and join ourselves with something which is not the truth. This is true with reference to God and the world. It is equally true for everything within the world. Even within the world, there are truths, right? I don't mean like tell the truth. I don't mean truths like that. But there are some facts of the matter. But we will not see the facts of the matter because we are going to be veiled by something which is not there. We are going to be veiled. Our vision is veiled. So that's one of the reasons we can't see causal relationships, because our vision is veiled by this, what he calls Yoga Maya. Yoga Maya means we have gone and associated ourselves with something which is not factually correct. So I am not manifest everywhere means the truth is not obvious to everybody. Why not? Because we are veiled by Yoga Maya, because it's covered by this Maya, meaning covered by something that is not there. Moodho yam nabhi janati, ayam moodaha. This fool, na abhijanati, doesn't know me well. Mamam ajam avyayam. Mam ajam. Jam means born. Ajam, unborn. Avyayam, imperishable, immutable, unchangeable. I am not born. I am not born means I am not dead. Birth and death are mere changes. So he is immutable. He is unchanging. So he can obviously not have birth or death. There is no beginning. There is no end, because there is no change. What is birth and what is death? Birth is only the coming of some state, and death is the ending of that state. So, for instance, we have come to this classroom. Okay, we are in this classroom. This is our birth in this classroom. We will be leaving this classroom at 11:30. That will be our death in this classroom. So when we see it only for the purpose of the classroom, we are born and we die. But suppose we start crying now, oh my God, now everybody is dead. No, they're not dead. There is a continuity. People will come back. Okay, today is Sunday, right? So Thursday people will come back. Why? Because they are there. So birth and death means nothing. It's only a change of state. The beginning of any experience is birth, and the death of any experience is death. Now God has no beginning, no end, no experiences, no beginning, no end, and therefore unchanging. Now why can't we see this truth? Because of this Yoga Maya. So this verse is like a satire really, because everybody says, oh, God doesn't love me, God doesn't love me. So in this verse God is saying, look you guys, none of you know me. Where's the question of loving me? You don't even know me, forget loving me. So Naham Prakasha Sarvasya Yoga Maya Samavrataha. This is a very important thing for us to understand, not only from the perspective of the truth, the transcendental reality, which is that we don't see the transcendental reality, we are involved in the happenings of the world. Not only is it true from that absolute perspective, it's so true from our daily perspective. Suppose a woman has a husband who is, let's say, very lazy and doesn't work. Alright? She will sob over this for her whole life long, because she will never come to the grips with the situation that is what he is. That is what it is. It's not changing. No, she'll grumble, she'll complain, she'll sob, she'll weep, she'll do this, she'll do that, just because she can't get it that that's the way it is. It is. And there's nothing she can do to change another person. She can't do it. She's done everything she could possibly and it can't be done. There may be situations where you can do something to change, in which case, please go ahead and do. But there are definitely situations in which you can't do. So people don't get it. And then they go on their whole life grumbling, complaining, becoming pessimistic, getting all sorts of lifestyle ailments because they just can't see the ground reality. This is the way it is. Get used to it. If you can complain about the situation we are in right now, that we have to be at home and not go anywhere. We can complain, we can grumble, we can get pessimistic, we can get frustrated. But once you have the mental realization that this is the way it is, okay, this is our new life now. So there's no problem at all. So when the truth, when the facts, when the reality are not obvious to us, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya, for nobody are the facts just clear to them that this is the ground reality. Why not? Because we go and associate ourselves with that which is not. What is not? It's very interesting. What is not is our own ignorance. Because it is not that we can't see what is there. It is that we refuse to see what is there. So we are associating ourselves with something which is not. There is no ignorance. You have assumed an ignorance. Mudho ayam na janati. The fools don't know me, which is unborn and imperishable. So this is of course from the absolute point of view, but the fact also remains that any fact is also imperishable. It's not going away because we don't want it. So even if somebody passes away and it's a big grief to us, it's only up to the point that we come to understand that it is so. There is no moving away from that. It is so. Now I have to take that as a given and work from there. So it's a slightly difficult verse, and we have to understand it both from the absolute as well as from the relative perspective. When he says that I am neither born nor dead, it only means that consciousness is not supreme consciousness, pure consciousness is imperishable, unborn, with reference to this world. Why does he say I am not this? Because we only understand this world, right? So what do we understand? We understand that this world is there, it's a changing world. So all he's saying is whatever are the characteristics of this world, they're not my characteristics. The change, the birth, all this, these are not my characteristics. So I hope that is clear. Any questions?
Yeah, Hariom.
Hariom.
You explained that what we see is not God, but what makes us see is God. Means what we have studied, eye behind the eye, isn't it?
The true self.
In some chapter we have studied that there is the eye behind the eye, that is the power,
Acha,
supreme power.
okay.
So suppose I say I have understood the God is supreme power. This much I have understood. And now on the other hand, they say our intellect cannot conceive God. So my question is, where do I stand? Should I take this truth, or should I take that I cannot conceive, this may not be truth? So where I stand? What should one do to just come out of that confusion?
Knowledge is always taken in stages. So in the very lowest stages, you hear God is supreme power. So your understanding of that is, okay, now he's supreme power, so I'll ask him for everything, he'll give it to me. Then you learn more. Then you say, okay, supreme power doesn't mean that. What it means is that every perception, action, emotion and thought has been enlivened by God. That is what it means as supreme power. Okay, so that's stage 2. Then if you go further, you'll be told supreme power means supreme, means infinite, means you can't understand what this thing is. So don't try. So eventually we have to get to the stage where it's not comprehensible. In the other religions like in Mohammedanism or Christianity, you understand you have something to do with Christ, but God in heaven unknown, or you have something to do with Muhammad. You can, he says something, does something, whatever. But Allah is unknown, unseen, so they don't even say anything about him. In Judaism also they say don't even take his name. Don't even take his name. All to express that he is beyond our comprehension. So whatever our comprehension is incorrect. Okay. So now let us see how many questions. Surendra, does it mean that Lord Rama, Lord Krishna are only self-realized persons and were not God? What is the difference between God and avatar? Please clarify. Does it mean that Lord Rama and Lord Krishna were only self-realized persons and were not God? Surendra, self-realized persons are God. In fact, you and I are also God. That's the whole point, that we are all nothing but God. What is the difference between God and avatar? Okay, so what is the difference between a God, a self-realized soul, that I am adding that, and an avatar? Okay, so God is the supreme reality. Is the unseen, the unheard, the unknown power behind this whole universe. Behind the whole universe means behind every perception, every action, every emotion and every thought. So he's that supreme power. Now some of us, hopefully, will one day come to understand that that is our original nature. That is really what we are. We are that power. We are not this body, mind, intellect. If we ever come to understand that we are not this body, mind, intellect, but that power, then really understand, not understand as an intellectual comprehension, but when we get it, we have been removed from the Maya, means all the wrong understandings have gone, and now you get it that you are the self, you are not the body, mind, intellect. Such a person is known as a self-realized soul. Now it sometimes happens that you have done all your sadhana and you're very close to self-realization, and you have done all your sadhana, you're almost at self-realization, but you may have like some very petty desire left, just some silly petty desire left. Okay, now what happens in such, and you die. So what happens in this case is that when you take birth again in the next janma, that very small petty whatever little thing you have left, maybe a desire for security, I don't know, I'm just saying something. Okay, so when you're born itself, as soon as you're born, okay, let's say it was a desire for security, so you've been in the womb for 9 months, so you've been very secure, so that desire is sort of over and was the last thing left, right? So what happens is, some people very early in their life, because they've done all their sadhana earlier and then just some petty something is left, very early in life, without doing any sadhana, they find out the ultimate truth. Such people who sort of seem to realize, who know the truth without showing any effort in this janma, come to be known as Avatara Purushas. Means manifestations of the Lord. They almost straight away Avatara Purusha. Avatara Purusha means somebody who is already beyond. So you don't see his sadhana in this lifetime because he realized at such a young age, and therefore such people are known as Avatara Purushas. So from very young they will display powers of realized souls like a Rama or a Krishna. So therefore they are known as Avatara Purushas. Versus somebody where we see effort, like Ramanama Rishi for instance. He's a self-realized soul. But we see effort, we know his sadhana, we know all that. So we don't refer to them as Avatar Purushas, we refer to them as self-realized souls. There's really no difference between a self-realized soul and an Avatar Purusha. It's the same thing. It's just that in one case, realization was very early in birth, so no sadhana is seen in that person's life, and in the other person's case, you see the sadhana. But obviously, both have done sadhana and both have reached the same point. Is that okay, Surendra?
Hello,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Just wanted to, because you said that you cannot comprehend a self-realized person.
Hmm.
So, and Lord Ram and Lord Krishna, they lived and they went. So, does it mean that they have changed?
No.
They're not unchanging, so
No, the self is unchanging. The body, mind, and intellect of Lord Rama, Lord Krishna, Lord Jesus Christ, Lord Buddha, Lord Mahavir, their bodies, minds, and intellect will change. What is not changing within them is the self. So you are not to worship their body, mind, intellect. You have to worship the self. You don't worship the changing part, you worship the unchanging part.
when you say worship the unchanging means,
Worship the self. Worship the ultimate truth.
how do we do it? How do we do it? Worship the self.
Means you work with the goal of self-realization. Worship means pursue.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so Deepak's iPhone. Deepak's iPhone is who now? We have so many Deepaks, I don't know which Deepak this is.
Chankiji Deepak.
Okay. What is the biggest impediment to see things as they are? Our desires, our ego, our complacency, something else. Deepak, they are all synonymous terms. Our desires, our ego, our complacency, and something else. All of them are synonymous terms. We can't see what it is because of what he's calling in this verse, Yoga Maya, the Maya. So what is the Maya? Is our ignorance, which is what our desires, our ego are. All sorts of foolish notions that we have collected. You know, very often in a conversation, you don't even hear what the other person is saying. We are only saying things in our own head. So many times I find these husbands and wives, they're having a conversation. They're not having a conversation with each other. They're having a conversation with themselves. Somebody is saying something, somebody is hearing something, then they're responding to something the other person never said. A madhouse. Anywhere you find people are not talking to each other. Even in class you find that now of course you find it has reduced quite a bit as people get more and more trained, but what is the topic, what is the question, there is no correlation. You're talking about X, the question is upon whatever, like G or something. Like what, where did you even get that from? So people can't hear because we're so full of ourselves. So what is that? What is filling us so much? It is our desires, our ego, our complacency, all our wrong notions basically. Every form of ignorance. Ignorance manifests as all these various things. So that's what makes us incapable of seeing it. So more important is what do we do about it? Consciously use the intellect, consciously pay attention, consciously try to go and see what the truth of the matter is rather than getting carried away by what we think it is. So how do you deal with it is by conscious application of the intellect. Okay, Deepak?
Yes, thank you, Shankar.
Sarah says, just like anything we can conceive is not God, how about self, which is pure consciousness that is neither born nor dead? We can only perceive the manifestation of the self in the human form. Then what is the difference between self and God? Okay, I'm reading this again. Sarah Khan says, just like anything we conceive is not God, how about self, which is pure consciousness that is neither born nor dead? And we can only perceive the manifestation of the self in the human form. Then what's the difference between self and God? Sarah, self and God is exactly the same thing. They're synonymous terms. Our original nature, our true self is God. That is the philosophy of Advaita. our there is no difference between the self and God. What is different is the body, mind, intellect, and God. So people misunderstand the body, mind, intellect, the manifestation, to be the self. So when I say, who are you? Then you will point to your body and say, this is me. But this is not me. What is me is the self. Is that okay, Sarah? Sarah, are you alright?
Yes, Sister Tanya, thank you so much.
Sangeeta, how is it possible that Krishna himself is instructing Arjuna, then how come he is not present or has no form? When Krishna was present, only a few could recognize him as God. Bhakti Marg says Brahmagyanis are not able to perceive beyond the Brahma Jyoti. Therefore, for them I am hidden by my Yoga Maya. Please explain. Okay, Sangeeta. How is it possible that Krishna himself is instructing Arjuna, and how come he is not present or he has no form? When Krishna is instructing Arjuna, the body, mind and intellect of Krishna are instructing Arjuna. They are able to instruct properly because Krishna is the Lord. So whenever a teacher teaches the knowledge of God, it's not the words that communicate, it's not the actions that communicate, it's not the thoughts that communicate. We can only communicate something to the extent that we have unfolded it. To the extent that somebody has unfolded the God within themselves, to that extent alone they will communicate. Two people may use exactly the same words, but one will communicate and one not. In fact, in the case of Ramana Maharishi, the stories go that he wouldn't even say anything. And yet people would go to him, they flock to him. For what? They sit in his quiet presence and they learn, they understand. He's communicating in spite of not using a single word. So what communicates is not the body, mind, intellect, but the self reveals itself through that. That's why even the Vedas are called apaurusham, because it's not what the body, mind, intellect of the rishis who did it, but the self was able to communicate itself. Why was it able to communicate itself? Because they uncovered the self. So to the extent that we have removed our identification with the body, mind, intellect, the self in us will communicate itself. And that's why Krishna, because he has completely merged with the all-pervading truth, is able to communicate. When Krishna was present, only a few could recognize him as God. That's right. Nobody will be able to tell who is self-realized and who is not. Bhakti Marg says Brahmanyanis are not able to perceive beyond the Brahma Jyoti. Therefore, for them, I am hidden by my Yoga Maya. That is correct. We already studied this. Remember, we said that some people get involved in the analysis, in the information, in the knowledge, and don't step beyond it to the immutable, the imperishable. So this statement is correct. So Bhakti Marga doesn't say it, Jnana Marga also says the same thing, that Brahmagyanis are not able to perceive beyond the Brahma Jyoti. Therefore, for them, I am hidden by my Yoga Maya. Correct. So for those who are not able to go beyond their intellect, they will not know the self. So some people are not able to go beyond the body, some people are not able to go beyond the mind, some people are not able to go beyond the intellect. But in any of those cases, the end result is still the same, that they don't know the final truth. Okay, Sangeeta?
Yeah, thank you, Gayatri. Thank you so much.
Mayur, you have a question?
Yeah,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, I actually did type it down.
Oh, you
also.
typed it? Okay, let me see. Oops, there are a lot of questions. Okay. Do you want to tell me or shall I read it?
Okay, more or less, it's about the fact that, first of all, I would like to thank you that after trying different ways, it really helped me to come together. It was the most effective
path. I have read most of Arthasarkis as well, and I've not been able to attend the lectures properly. But the only thing I wanted to say was that it hit home when you said that a lot of people, it's about a science where you figure out the cause and effect, and a lot of people say, okay, I will keep trying and rather die, but I keep trying. That's exactly what I felt, and there has been a lot of progress, but very often you see a point and I see an evolution coming, the realization coming, and just when it's there, I often tend to fall back quite a few times to my older ways. And again, I get there, but then it takes almost sometimes up to a year for me to stabilize to some degree at that point. Anything you have as a tip or some advice to offer which we can at least minimize the effect of this, but I do understand that it's natural for us to have before we settle to a newer level. Such.
Daily study. There's nothing else to it.
I do that.
Yeah, so that's it. I mean, this is the struggle. We will keep on trying to climb up. We will fall a million times before we'll be able to climb up there. Because what we're doing is an incredibly difficult thing. There are two difficult steps in it. One is to be able to identify that I need to change X. Most people don't identify that. And then having identified that, to actually change that X. That both these steps are very difficult. So sometimes we err in what we have to change, and sometimes we err in the method of how to change it. So in both cases, if you're doing it on your own, then it's your morning study. The better you understand the knowledge, the better you'll be able to implement it.
Right. Thank you.
Priyanka, if we are God and God is inconceivable, does that mean we can't comprehend ourselves? Yes, Priyanka, that's what it means. We cannot comprehend ourselves. Ourself in the sense of the absolute self. As anything we comprehend would not be self. Correct, you're right. You're not confused, Priyanka, you're right. As anything we comprehend will not be self. Correct. Confused. No, you're not confused. You're right. Please help. What will I help you? You're right, Priyanka.
Okay, thank you, Dr.
Mayur, okay, we've done that now. Jyoti, based on Deepak's question, could I also say resistance to what is an impediment to seeing something as it is? Yes, that is correct. Jyoti, we resist in our minds because our desire is different. A woman who wants that her husband love her is not able to get it, that he doesn't. She will not get it because her desire that he loves her is so much that she will block out every evidence to the contrary. She will not be able to block it out, and that will be the disturbance. But the day she gets it in her head that this is the way it is, then she can start figuring out what I want to do about it. I can maybe do something to win his love, maybe I can leave him, maybe I can just live with it, whatever. How do I want to fulfill my desire? I can figure out only once I figure out what the ground reality is. So any resistance to knowing the ground reality always interrupts our fulfillment of desire. If you want to get what you want, you better know what the ground reality is. So forget about spiritual path. You want to achieve anything in the world if you can't see things for what they are. So yes, Jyoti, it's correct. Okay. Alright, then that's it for today. We will continue next time. Hari Om.
Thank you.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Hari Om.